YouTube Light Radio. You can also call or send a message to us via SMS or WhatsApp on 0809 738 4000. We'll go on a real quick break, and when we return, the program begins in full swing. Please stay with us.
Ẹ̀dàkúnyé ẹ̀yin òbí wa lẹ́bà lówó kẹjọ kẹtọ́ wa ẹ̀kọ́ ló ń gbé ní dẹni gíga ẹ̀kọ́ ló ń gbé ní dépò ọlá ẹ̀dàkúnyé ẹ̀yin òbí wa lẹ́bà lówó kẹjọ kẹtọ́ wa ẹ̀dàkúnyé ẹ̀yin òbí wa lẹ́bà lówó kẹjọ kẹtọ́ wa.
Welcome back, and if you just joined in, you are listening to Education Today on Light Radio. And first, we kick off with the news. Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to the news and Education Today, reaching you live from Light Radio. I remain Nima Ibrahim. First, the headlines. Islam is not against girl-child education, says Sultan. Nigerian government fires Togo, Benin Republic degree holders from MDAs. ASU to federal government, replacing TET fund with NEL fund will cripple universities. And on the foreign scene, 2 children in critical condition after gunman opens fire at California school. Now the details. The Sultan of Sokoto, Alhaji Saad Abubakar III, has reaffirmed that Islam supports the education of the girl child, emphasizing its role in societal development. Speaking at the Adolescent Girls Initiative for Learning and Empowerment Agile project in Bauchi, organized by the Ministry of Education with World Bank support, the Sultan called for a shift in social and cultural norms that hinder girls' education, particularly in the northeastern region. Themed Overcoming Social and Cultural Norms and Girl Education in the Northeast Zone, Roles of Traditional and Religious Leaders, the event highlighted barriers to girl-child education. Islam is not against the education of the girl child, the Sultan stated. The key is educating people about its importance, because educating girls equips them to better society, care for themselves, their families, and their communities, regardless of ethno-religious differences. The Sultan also called on northern governors to prioritize funding for education to address the issue, as he noted that children hawking during school hours and stressed the importance of ensuring all children have access to formal education. The federal government of Nigeria has fired some civil servants who got their degrees from private tertiary institutions in Benin Republic and Togo. According to reports, the directive affected federal workers who graduated from the institutions from 2017 to date. The Director of Information and Public Relations in the Office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Segun Imohiosen, confirmed the development on Wednesday, December 4th. Recall that earlier this year, a Nigerian journalist went undercover and acquired a degree from a university in Benin Republic in 2 months, which he then used to participate in the National Youth Service Corps scheme. And consequently, the government banned the accreditation and evaluation of degrees from tertiary institutions in the both universities. Although the exact number of affected civil servants could not be ascertained, it was gathered that the Office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation Cabinet Affairs had issued a memo to all the ministries, departments, and agencies to implement the order. The Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, has cautioned the federal government against replacing the Tertiary Education Trust Fund, TET fund, with the Nigerian Education Loan Fund, NEL fund, warning that such a move would cripple public universities and undermine tertiary education in Nigeria. ASU President Professor Emmanuel Oshodeke made this statement during an interview on a national TV on Thursday. Furthermore, he described TET Fund as the backbone of public university funding for the past 3 decades and argued that its suffocation would lead to the collapse of the sector. The Associate Education, Dr. Suwaiba Ahmed, expressing concerns about learning crisis at the basic level of education in Nigeria, however, expressed determination of the current administration to continue to focus on and improve factors that impact on quality education delivery, such as teacher quality, school environment, availability of instructional materials, efficient school governance, and supervision. She spoke at a meeting with the 774 education secretaries from the local government in Nigeria, organized by the Universal Basic Education Commission, UBEC, in Abuja. Ahmad also commended UBEC for putting together the training program for the education secretaries from the local government in Nigeria with the aim of enhancing effective management of schools under their supervision. The training was also designed to equip the secretaries with relevant skills and competences in handling and administration of schools, which took place simultaneously in all the 6 geopolitical zones of the country. And away from Nigeria, 2 children were extremely in critical condition Wednesday, December 4th, after being shot at a religious K-8 school in Northern California, and the gunman died at the scene apparently from a self-inflicted gunshot, police said. The gunman may have targeted the Feather River School of Seventh-day Adventists in Palermo because of its religious affiliation, but isn't believed to have had a prior connection to the victims, and edited by OLUBUNMI KAZEEM. Do not forget, for the coverage of your educational events, seminars, competitions, trainings, among others, you can call us on 0702-507-4268, or you reach us via educationmediaservices@gmail.com. Education Today continues in a moment. Please stay with us. Welcome back. And that's all we can take on the news for today. And right now, we'll take the country in focus with Mr. KAZEEM. Good afternoon, Mr. KAZEEM. You have the floor.
Good afternoon, Nima. Good afternoon to our listeners. It's a pleasure to be here as always. You're welcome to the Country in Focus segment, where we consider a particular country of the world, its basic features, and most importantly, its educational system for the benefit of our listeners. I am OLUBUNMI KAZEEM. Today, the country in focus is South Korea. South Korea, officially the Republic of Korea, ROK, is a country in Southeast Asia. It constitutes the southern half of the Korean Peninsula and borders North Korea along the Korean demilitarized zone. The country's western border is formed by the Yellow Sea, while its eastern border is defined by the Sea of Japan. It has a population of 51.96 million people, of which half live in the capital city, Seoul, the 9th most populous metropolitan area in the world. Other major cities in South Korea. Century, Korea was ruled by the Goryeo dynasty from 918 to 1392 and the Joseon dynasty from 1392 to 1897. The succeeding Korean Empire from 1897 to 1910 was annexed in 1910 into the Empire of Japan. Japanese rule ended following Japan's surrender in World War II, after which Korea was divided into 2 zones. A northern zone which was occupied by the Soviet Union, and the southern zone which was occupied by the United States. After negotiations on reunification failed, the southern zone became the Republic of Korea in August 1948, while the northern zone became the Communist Democratic People's Republic of Korea the following month. In 1950, a North Korean invasion began the Korean War, which ended in 1953, after extensive fighting involving the American-led United Nations Command and the People's Volunteer Army from China with Soviet assistance. The war left 3 million Koreans dead and the economy in ruins. The May 16 coup of 1961, led by Park Chung-hee, put an end to the Second Republic, signaling the start of the Third Republic in 1963. South Korea's devastated economy began to soar under Park's leadership, recording one of the fastest rises in average GDP per capita. Despite lacking natural resources, the nation rapidly developed to become one of the 4 Asian tigers based on international trade and economic globalization, integrating itself with the world economy with export-oriented industrialization. The Fourth Republic was established after the October Restoration of 1972. The country is now considered among the most advanced democracies in continental and East Asia. South Korea maintains a unitary presidential republic under the 1987 constitution with a unicameral legislature, the National Assembly. It is considered a regional power in East Asia and a developed country, with its economy ranked as the world's 14th largest by nominal GDP and the 14th largest by PPP adjusted GDP. Its citizens enjoy one of the world's fastest internet connection speeds and densest high-speed railway networks. The country is the world's 9th largest exporter and 9th largest importer. Its armed forces are ranked as one of the world's strongest militaries, with the world's 2nd largest standing army by military and paramilitary personnel, and as well as an active conscription system. In the 21st century, South Korea has also been renowned for its globally influential pop culture, particularly in music, TV dramas, and cinema, a phenomenon referred to as the Korean Wave. It is a member of the OECD's Development Assistance Committee, the G20, the IPEF, and the Paris Club. The educational system of South Korea is designed to provide students with a high-quality education that prepares them for success in an increasingly competitive global economy. That's it on the Country in Focus segment for today. I hope you have learned something about South Korea. I remain OLUBUNMI KAZEEM. Education Today continues the moment. Please stay with us.
ẹ̀kọ́ ló láyé táwa yìí sẹ́ ẹ̀kọ́ dára púpọ̀ ẹ̀kọ́ ló láyé táwa yìí sẹ́ ẹ̀kọ́ ló ń gbé ní dẹni gíga ẹ̀kọ́ ló ń gbé ní dépò ọlá ẹ̀dàkúnyé ẹ̀yin òbí wa lẹ́bàá lówó kẹjọ kẹtọ́ wa ẹ̀kọ́ ló ń gbé ní dẹni gíga ẹ̀kọ́ ló ń gbé ní dépò ọlá ẹ̀dàkúnyé ẹ̀yin òbí wa lẹ́bàá lówó kẹjọ kẹtọ́ wa ẹ̀dàkúnyé ẹ̀yin òbí wa lẹ́bàá lówó kẹjọ kẹtọ́ wa. Kò pẹ́ kọ́ ó dáni lójú pé yóò jìyà ọmọ tí kò bá ẹ̀kọ́ ó dáni lójú pé yóò jìyà iṣẹ́ burúkú ni wọ́n ń ṣe tí wọ́n bá jalè wọ́n tún fọ́lé ẹ̀dàkúnyé ẹ̀yin òbí wa.
Welcome back, and that was the profession. That was the country in focus, and right now we'll take the profession of the week with my humble self again. Good day and welcome again to the segment for the profession of the week. I am Nima Ibrahim, and on this segment we x-ray a particular profession or field of human endeavor within the educational sector, and I'll be telling you what it is about, the knowledge and educational qualifications required for admission into tertiary institutions, the years of training required, and schools that have the accreditation to offer these courses. free of charge. And in today's episode, we are considering adult education as a profession and course of study. Adult education is the teaching or training of adults. This education can take place in a variety of settings. As an adult educator, you may teach large classrooms of students at the college or university level, or small groups of adults in a corporate setting. Adult educators may even find themselves working with students on an individual basis. Adult educators also encourage and enable adults to further their education. Now, adult education, distinct from child education, is a practice in which adults engage in a systematic and sustained self-educating activities in order to gain new forms of knowledge, skills, attitudes, or values. It can mean any form of learning adults engage in beyond the traditional schooling, encompassing basic literacy to personal fulfillment as a lifelong learner and to ensure the fulfillment of an individual. In particular, adult education reflects a specific philosophy about learning and teaching based on the assumption that adults can and want to learn, that they are able and willing to take responsibility for the learning, and that the learning itself should respond to their needs. The practice of adult education is referred to as andragogy to distinguish it from the traditional school-based education for children pedagogy. Unlike children, adults are seen as more self-directed rather than relying on others for help. Degree programs in adult education equip you to teach adults in the setting and field of your choice. Most adult education degrees are master's degrees or higher, building on more generalized education degrees and experience at the undergraduate level. Some undergraduate adult education programs also exist, however. Adult education also allows for personal development, goal achievement, and adult education. This career also opens possibilities to jobs in community organizations, human resources development teams, academic admissions, and research. Some of the education major jobs include vocational college and universities teacher, community college professor, continuing education professor, corporate trainer, corporate training specialist, GED instructor, education administrators, human resource manager, literacy specialist, to mention but a few. A bachelor's degree in adult education typically includes courses on communication, curriculum development, and theories and practices of adult education. Generally speaking, these programs take 4 years to complete. Adult education is available at all levels of education, including bachelor's and master's. A typical curriculum includes subjects like professional success, adult learning theory, learning styles, critical thinking, communication, social sciences, family literacy, technology in education, among others. Now, the economic rewards for being an adult educator. Salaries may vary depending the type of employer you work for, your location, whether you are in private practice, your experience, and specialist skills. Some adult educators work on a voluntary basis, while many others work as literacy specialists, and extension officers, community development specialists, and continuing educators. Now, we move on to the academic requirements for you to pursue a degree in adult education. At the senior secondary school level, someone interested in adult education can go to 3 of literature in English, history, French, geography, mathematics, any Yoruba, either of Yoruba or Igbo language, CRK or IRS, economics, government, commerce, or as specified by the school of choice. Also, there are opportunities for direct entry admission to join the second year level for a 3-year degree program in counseling using the NCE option. This requires any 2 of the teaching subjects available in the university of choice, like literature in English, economics, CRS or IRS, government, history, Igbo, Yoruba, French, and geography passed at merit or above levels. As for the schools offering adult education degree program, almost all universities with faculty or institutes of
yóò jìyà iṣẹ́ burúkú ni wọ́n ń ṣe tí wọ́n bá jalè wọ́n wá tún fọ́lé ẹ dákun yé ẹ̀yin òbí wa lẹ́bàá lówó kẹjọ kẹtọ́ wa iṣẹ́ burúkú ni wọ́n ń ṣe tí wọ́n bá jalè wọ́n wá tún fọ́lé ẹ dákun yé ẹ̀yin òbí wa lẹ́bàá lówó kẹjọ kẹtọ́ wa ẹ dákun yé ẹ̀yin òbí wa lẹ́bàá lówó kẹjọ kẹtọ́ wa.
Welcome back, and you're still on to Education Today on Light Radio. And right now, we are moving into the discuss segment, and our guest is very much here with us. On this episode, on this edition, we are discussing the Nigerian tax reform bills. Implications for education. Once again, the topic of discourse for this edition is the Nigerian tax reform bills, the implications for education. So now, the federal government of Nigeria is proposing to reform the nation's tax laws. It is undertaking this with 4 different bills on different aspects of the nation's tax system. This move has faced mixed reactions, with some supporting the bills while many, especially from the northern part of the country, opposed to the bills. However, the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, has also voiced its concerns over the bill, especially because it threatens the existence and survival of the Tertiary Education Trust Fund in favor of the Nigerian Education Loan Fund, the NEL Fund. So it's more like, is it the TET Fund against or versus the NEL Fund? What effect exactly does this move pose for education in our dear country, Nigeria? Joining us on the program today, we have an educational administrator, lecturer, researcher, educational consultant, and our in-house analyst, the one you are familiar with by now. Talking about no other than Mr. OLUBUNMI KAZEEM. Good afternoon, Mr. KAZEEM.
Good afternoon, Nima, and good afternoon to our esteemed listeners. It's a pleasure to be here as always.
All right. So do not forget, you can be past country you're always fanning about, and when was it established? Send your answer to the WhatsApp number 0809-738-4000, or you drop it as a comment on this Facebook Live or on our YouTube, wherever it is you're watching from. So, without much ado, Mr. KAZEEM, what are your thoughts on this tax reform? And I also, what is your opinion on whether it will impact our education sector positively or negatively?
All right, thank you very much. The other hand is that the fact that for many Nigerians that actually pay tax, they also suffer from multiple taxation, which has actually been a bane to economic development. For many businesses, they're actually, groaning under, heavy, taxes by different government agencies, FIRS, customs,
Yes,
state
true.
government, local government, even some, other, how will I put it, non-state actors are also involved in tax collection.
Yes.
Hijacking buses and different things like that. People probably that are, selling wares. People calculation is actually in their favor and in favor of their businesses. So at the end of the day, the tax, is very regressive, where those that earn lower pay more and those that earn higher pay less. So that is, that one. But unfortunately, with this, move for these tax reforms, we find a situation where a lot of people are actually just afraid that, see, you guys are just probably coming up with increment in tax without looking at, the challenge that Nigerians are facing, that a lot of Nigerians are actually, facing a very harsh economic condition. So probably, that is that palpable fear that it is possible, the incidence of this particular tax will probably affect on not just even the educational development, but as well as our, development in the ICT sector, as well as the science and technology sector generally. So, and that is the aspect that a lot of people feel like there is also a need for government to probably do a lot of, stakeholder engagement and also a whole lot of education of the people. By the time you engage, you discuss with the people, you enlighten the people. So you can remove the fears that they have, and the aspect where people are raising issues, you can probably have a rethink, take a look at it again, reform them, modify them, and represent them to the National Assembly.
All right. So in defense of our people, I think the people are not really scared to pay taxes because the average Nigerians, when enlightened, knows that these taxes are used to, build amenities and facilities that will better their lives. I think what Nigerians are afraid of, what they're scared of, is they don't want to find themselves in a situation whereby they are being robbed. Peter is being robbed to pay Paul and such, because sometimes the first question they ask these collectors is, where exactly are these monies going into? So maybe, you rightly said that they need to engage the stakeholders, the education of the masses, and all. If these structures are put in place, I think that we may have a more positive
disposition
towards the tax reform. So what are some potential benefits and drawbacks that this tax reform could attract?
For education?
Yes, education is our focus on this program.
Now, I love that. Ordinarily, the tax reform bill is something that one way or the other, on the positive aspect of it, would actually strengthen our tax laws. And I believe that will probably even remove a lot of confusion with this issue of multiple taxation and what have you. It will streamline our tax laws and at the same time probably bring clarity, in terms of, the tax collection, the sharing. It could actually threaten and reduce the involvement of government when it comes to the funding of education. And that's where the major problem lies. That it's like a stylish way of government abdicating its responsibility when it comes to funding tertiary education. And the proponents of these laws and this reform are capitalists in mentality. That's a fact we have to face. And unfortunately, that's probably the dominant, mentality and ideology in the world today. But coming from some other, countries, probably where you have this, you'll find out that it's not everybody that is actually comfortable and convenient, that find it really comfortable, that are probably comfortable with the idea of loan to fund education, really. Although the beauty of it is the fact that the loan is non-interest based.
Yes.
But I'm afraid that would it be sustainable if at the end of the day, because of the devaluation of the naira. So if someone borrows 2 million naira today to pay school fees, probably in 10 years time or in 5 years time, when probably the student will start working or will start repaying, will the person also pay back 2 million naira? Will the value of 2 million naira be the same then? Because the value of 1,000 naira before this government came on board is not the same thing as the value of 1,000 naira. Now, what 1,000 naira could buy May 2023 is not the same as 1,000 naira could buy in December 2024, and what will probably even happen by 2025. Once, and unfortunately, you now want to compound it with increment in VAT rate. So the implication is the cost of calls will increase. Any payment, anything you buy in the market would increase naturally. Because, you see, except we want to deceive ourselves, the cost of consumption will go higher. The cost of living will go higher. Banking operations, business operations will go higher because of VAT. It's not all products that are exempt from VAT. That's a fact we have to face. And although they're trying to tell us that it will only be on luxury goods, but you and I know that, see, the law is different from what we apply. By the time we start implementing so many things that you don't even think of, the VAT rate will be, implemented
to
on them. And unfortunately, where do you seek redress? How many of such, complaints have actually been redressed by the government over the years? So those are the fears that people are having, that do you actually want to kill Nigerians? See, when people are talking about T-pain, this is what they're talking about. You are saying T-gain. Yes, but unfortunately, people have actually lost confidence and trust in government that they actually do anything that will benefit the citizens. I am not saying the tax bills are very wrong or bad, but then there is a need for this serious engagement of the people, and that's why people are saying, why the rush? Why not do more of stakeholder engagement for at least a year? The one you are now doing, addressing town halls, why didn't you actually do that even before raising the bill at the National Assembly in the first instance? They are now calling the Attorney General to look at some of the constitutional, encumbrances that could affect the passage of the bill. These are things that why are we laying the cart before the horse?
All right. So, the reform peculiar to education, there's been a pushback from ASU on it, especially as it pertains to third fund. And I know that many people out there do not still get what ASU is, grieving about. So can you please shed more light on this quickly?
All right. Basically, based on the tax bill, it proposes that now, by the time you do that, so 3%, of this income tax, goes to third fund, company income tax. 1% of profit before tax of banks and other financial institutions and the PFAs and internet GSM service providers, 1% of their profit before tax is deployed to NITDA. NITDA is Nigerian Information Technology Development Association, agency. So, and the idea of NITDA is we want to make Nigeria an ICT economy. And ever since the last administration under President Muhammadu Buhari, NITDA has actually been doing quite a lot. So I give kudos to them, especially the former Minister of Communication, Professor Ali Pantami. Yes, you see, Isa Ali Pantami did a yeoman's job with the Communication Ministry and with NITDA. He was formerly the Director General of NITDA before he became the Communications Minister, and he did a very, very good job there. So now, you're saying, and he has 0.25% of the turnover of companies and firms with income or turnover of over 4 million naira and above goes to Naseni. And the idea of Naseni is we want to develop our science and engineering, aspect of of the country, so that at the end of the day, there are so many things we can actually produce locally. We can come up with import substitution, what have you. So now, with all of this, now what this new tax law is saying is that from 2025, from all this source, everything will be put together as development levy. And whatever they raise, so instead of having multiple levels, so 50% of that fund will go to TED fund, 20% will go to NITDA, 5% of that fund will go to Naseni, then 25% will go to NEL fund.
Okay.
By 2026, it will remain the same, 2025 and 2026. That will be the sharing formula. Now, from 2027, 66.7% of that fund will go to TED fund, 0% will go to NITDA, 0% will go to Naseni, and 33.3% will go to NEL fund. And that will be for both 2027, 2028, and 2029. And from 2030 upwards, 0% to TED fund, 0 to NITDA, 0 to Naseni, and 100% to NEL fund. Invariably, in the next 5 years, all the money that we are generating